What you're about to hear is part of the Podgods Network. If you have a problem with anything you hear, please write it in an email and go fuck yourself. Enjoy the show.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Salty Language presents The Enthusiast.
Welcome, enthusiast, to the, enthusiast program. Tony, Bryan, and Shibe, a.k.a., or I guess Alicia, a.k.a. Shibe, from the Musings of a Shibe podcast.
Right.
I hope I said all that right.
You did.
Excellent. I'm a self-admitted moron, so, we're going to get into some tech talk tonight. I'm sure that's going to be way over my head.
Yeah. I think
Well, I'll try to keep it simple.
Oh, excellent.
We're already over my head. Jeez. All right.
So how the hell are you, Alicia?
I'm doing well. I just finished listening to the Kendrick Lamar album and been doing some notes for my upcoming shows for next week, so I've been doing pretty well.
Notes for a show, you say?
Yeah.
Preparing?
Yeah, I have to do a bit of research for my show, or otherwise I'm going to get slammed.
Yeah. Your show doesn't seem as much like a top-of-the-head kind of show, so it seems like you got to at least have some points to make
It is
blueprint.
somewhat
Yeah.
like what I think about a subject is from the top of my head.
Right.
But, I'm no expert. I'm just giving my opinion, but I try to make sure that all of my facts are correct. And I'm not giving false information.
Right.
Well, our whole thing is, if you're on the internet and you have a microphone in front of you, you're right.
Yep. That makes you an
True.
expert. By today's standards, that makes you an expert.
That's true.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could just put my resume and say, cryptocurrency expert, and let's see how many people would pay me. I'm sure I can run that scam for a while.
You probably could, because most people would be like, now explain to me what a cryptocurrency expert is, and you'd just tell them, and they would be like, oh.
Oh, so you're going to pay me $5,000 an hour? Yes, you are.
This could just work.
I like this idea.
This could just work. I've been thinking about it for a while, how to build such a profile, but I want to get a few more episodes down and some more interviews before I try to hang my shingle like that.
Start doing seminars. I gotcha. Yeah. All the get
I
write
wouldn't do
books.
seminars, but I would be doing business consultants, how people set up a place instead of a seminar, because that seems kind of, I don't know, Tony Robinson kind of phony-ish.
Oh, I was just looking for the get rich quick part of it. I wasn't looking at anything else.
I lived in Las Vegas.
Turtleneck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Las Vegas for 10 years, so I saw those things all the time.
I bet.
All those people coming in, and I had a lot of roommates and people I knew that work in the casino business, and they always knew those people were scamming. As long as that room was paid for, they just didn't care.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I remember telling my dad forever ago that I was like, I just wish that I could just write a book on how to give seminars and just go promote that. Because I really think that's really all there is to it. It's give the seminar, have a program that people think they're going to get rich off of, and make your hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars.
I saw someone who did how to put a seminar for a real estate thing, where if you're in the real estate and you want to do real estate seminars, there was a person that did that, who would teach you how to do that. And they were charging $200 a chair.
Right? That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong business.
This is right. Yeah, this is right before the crash. It was around 2005.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I could never do it because I just couldn't take advantage of people that way. But
I would feel so
That's
bad.
where I come in,
Yeah. I would get ulcers and sweat. Yeah, it would just keep me up at night.
Well, especially when you start, I'd start hearing people's stories, and they'd be like, I sold my life insurance and this and that. And,
yes.
In hopes of making this, it's like there was an episode of Undercover Boss that I caught that was the whole thing. It was a guy who does fix up house, or what do you call it? He flips houses, And
Yes.
he was doing seminars and stuff, and like hearing just some of the stories from the people there, to where it's like, if this doesn't go through, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, and they're paying like $2,000 for this, and I'm like, I just wouldn't be able to take that money from somebody.
Well, that was like in Las Vegas, that was like 45% of the homes were all these, like the older homes are all these flip-it houses that people were fixing up and reselling. And so you had people coming in mostly from California that had like 2 or 3 homes. And they went, the economy crashed and everything went underwater, and then all these homes got abandoned.
Yeah.
And they all came out and did those seminars where they're thinking they're going to be real estate agents without being real estate agents.
Yeah.
Turns out they were just suckers.
Yeah.
They were just suckers.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, stuff being in Vegas might be the first step that you should maybe be on guard, but,
Well, when I saw the sign saying 0% down for a home, I thought that was like, oh, you must have like $750 credit, $100,000 a year. Like, that's for rich people. Why are they? That's like a scam. Like, does somebody scamming people money? Like, normally those type of things, like, oh, you have to pay me $250 up front before I give you this information type of deal.
Yeah, right.
It's like, so I ignored all that, and I didn't realize because there's a couple of people I knew that had like making $32,000 a year, but they're in a $300,000 home, and they put zero down, and they were just had this crazy mortgage thing. They got it. They were just giving these mortgages away.
Oh, wow.
And it's just crazy. Yeah. I was like, I should have done this. And then I would have sold my house because that was just me. I could have done it. I could have scrambled some money together and just put it down and flip it.
Wow.
And been living like cake or something. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I was also glad I did do it because I was also seeing, the devastation that's happened to some people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, I guess I'm gonna steer the boat a little here. Do you want to explain to our dumbass audience what a cryptocurrency is?
No, Tony, don't insult the audience. We're the dumbasses.
I know. Shh, I'm trying to mask it, Brian.
Oh, right.
Jeez. The best explanation I can give you about cryptocurrency is this. If you go back in time, it's not that long ago, to Napster, where you had the MP3 files and everybody was sharing it. You basically uploaded an album, you downloaded the program, and you could have, all the Metallica you wanted. Like that. It's free. And all you had to do...
Like
well,
Lars did not like that.
I had all the Metallica I wanted anyways because I bought all of it. I would never do something like sharing things.
Oh, sharing things, yes.
I just mean in general. I don't share anything.
Or, for myself, I had this one CD, this one album that constantly got stolen. It was the Outkast Stankonia album. I've bought that album 5 times. And I used to joke that when they go around with their bling, like the little ringlet that holds one of those diamonds, I'm responsible for that. Because I was foolish to buy that album 5 times.
5 times, right.
But, people shared albums in that way, and it kind of started the whole peer-to-peer movement. It kind of started the whole sharing social media, and it brought those concepts into the social consciousness. A lot of these times, these concepts were very, like, academic on the paper. People thought about them. They put them in sci-fi stories, but no one ever believed it would actually happen. And taking that concept, you have that idea of sharing, and you apply that to money. And basically all you have to do is have an internet connection, download the program, and you have access to your own type of money, which is called either Dogecoin or Bitcoin or whatever name of cryptocurrency you want. And what makes it secure and what makes it viable is that it's protected by the concept of math, science. It's not something you can copy like a picture. It's not something that you can destroy like any kind of file. Like if your hard drive crashes, that Bitcoin still exists. It's not going to be erased or removed. And the value that it has is due to the value of the people using it and to the principles and the science behind it. That's why currently right now, Bitcoin is trading at $260 for one single Bitcoin. And that's the easiest example I can give to you is it's a very secure means of transmitting money across the internet using things you already know how to do, which is like email and MP3 files, but it's not something that you can break, copy, or destroy.
Fair enough.
Now, out of curiosity, why is it that it can't be copied and stuff? Is there like a unique ID or a number to each one, or? Yeah, there's a unique ID or number to each one, just like you have for your serial numbers on paper money. Okay. But there's 2. There's the public one, which everyone knows that's particular identifying marker, like the picture of Benjamin Franklin.
And then there's the key that opens it, which is the private key. And everyone who has a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency all have their private keys. Oh. And this is where you get the issue of people getting ripped off or stolen because they give access to their private key to somebody. As long as you have the private key, you're the only person who has access to that Bitcoin. So no one can steal it or copy it or share it or do anything without that private key.
Okay.
So it is yours to have. It's like a lockbox.
Okay.
Now, it has Apple. I know, a while ago they got rid of all the wallet apps for Bitcoin. Have they back on board, or are they still being Apple?
They're still kind of being Apple, but they have allowed Bitcoin to come back onto the iOS system. There had to be a bit of a change because what it is that because Apple, if you have any app download, you have to go through Apple to purchase any items. Mm-hmm. So that's what became the issue, is because people were purchasing Bitcoin through the various wallet apps. And so what they were like, no, you can't do that. But if you were to store, whoa. So you can, we're Apple. But they eventually allowed that to happen. And also it became like an issue. They were saying, legality. But if you can tax something, which Bitcoin is in the United States, is taxed, then it's legal. I mean, it's more legal than marijuana, if you think about it. It's taxed.
Right.
If it's taxed by the federal government, which it is, then it's a legal item. And so you can't necessarily ban it or prohibit it or prevent it from existing.
Right on.
Okay.
So
now, is there protection to it like there is for, or the illusion of, for like money in a bank?
If you're thinking like of money illusion, like FDIC, like insured, if you get like stolen or anything like that, no. It's just like it's like cash. And that's the concept of this digital system. Is like cash. If you keep $500 in your wallet and you're going out doing something and somebody robs you, you can report it to the police and they'll track that person down and you might get your cash back, but your cash is gone.
Yeah.
So, but there are systems out there where you can insure your money just like you can insure. Well, the FDIC does it automatically, but if you have significant amounts of money, you can always insure your money for theft and stuff like that, like any property. And you can do that for yourself. But basically what it is your responsibility. If you want the responsibility, you're your own bank. Okay. You control your own funds and monies, and you can do it what you will.
Right. So you shouldn't, just don't use your, private numbers as like, your usernames and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And you have to make sure you have an encrypted, encrypt your information. Not everything's up on your computer. Keep stuff offsite. They have actual hardware, like portable wallets or hardware, so you can store your keys. People use paper wallets and make multiple copies of the same paper wallet and store it at different places. It's all about keeping access to those private keys.
Okay.
Because if you have the private key and you know the public address, you don't have to keep that information on any particular hard drive. All you have to do is access any wallet, enter the public key and the private key, and you have access to your crypto coins anywhere in the world.
Okay. So, but it makes sense though, because that's tough. That's like a vault or a bank thing or something where you have to have two keys, like two different people have keys that you have to use to get in or something. It's
like Terminator 2.
Sure.
Yes, exactly like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And there are wallets that are like that if you want that added layer of security. Like if you have a business, and just like any business, like only a system manager and a manager might have access to the safe.
Yeah.
So the ship supervisor always has to ask for the manager to open the safe. There are certain wallets that are like that where you need two people or two keys in order to unlock the wallet. Otherwise, the funds are going to get stolen. And that prevents hacking, and it prevents people from just ripping you off.
Right.
Which has happened with a number of different businesses.
I'm just picturing how it might also help you from, like, drunk spending. But
You could do that, too. I mean, yeah.
Like trying to call somebody in the middle of the night. Come on, I want to use my coin.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I'm guessing that crusty old white guys are not a fan of this.
Anyone pretty much over the age of 45 is not a big fan of this. But yes, mostly crusty old white guys, yes.
I figured.
Now, if it's explained as though it's similar to keeping, I guess it's not. I was going to say it's similar to keeping, like, money in a coffee can or something, but it isn't because it seems safer than that. But
a coffee can.
Well, you said crusty old white guys. I'm using.
Well, I'm going more ones like that's like well, we don't have that money. We have all this money.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You know?
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, like, well, we can't let the kids get away with this.
Oh, okay.
Well,
What about
there's
our money?
Well, there's the efforts to try to prohibit and inhibit in different countries, even in the United States, prevent cryptocurrency from existing. They're trying to regulate it, and it is that premise like, well, we have this money here, this financial system. You don't need this other financial system to exist. And it's very much like that. And it's very much a threat to the banking systems and the existing monetary systems because all you have to do is have an internet connection and nobody controls it. You don't have to have an ID. You don't have to have an actual physical address. You just have to have that connection to the internet and you're part of the system. And it's very dangerous for a lot of different groups of people.
So do you think, like, you know, like when Napster came out and the music industry was like, psh, whatever, fuck those guys. And now look at them. They're in the tank.
The financial system is very bit savvy. They were like that for the first 2 years. And really the reason why they started paying attention to Bitcoin was because of Silk Road.
Oh, right.
Silk Road was if no one's familiar with that, is a dark marketplace. The gentleman that created it and ran it, Ross Ulbricht, just was sentenced, or he was convicted. He hasn't been sentenced yet for charges associated with that website. But basically Bitcoin was created in 2009. In 2011, Ross Ulbricht of January 2011 created Silk Road basically it was a website where they sold drugs on the Tor network and they only accepted Bitcoin. And from 2011 to 2013, the federal government said they did $1.2 billion in business.
Wow. You know,
and yeah.
It's good. It's a good business to be in.
Yes, yeah.
It is a good business to be in, but you have to think of this.
I've watched Scarface.
Yeah. You have to think of this. In January 2011, Bitcoin was 30 cents. In 2013, it was around $700.
Right on.
Right.
So the value of Bitcoin dramatically increased because of this one particular website. And it has a significant pull in the market value because as more and more people were using to purchase drugs and buying Bitcoin, other different sites were like, oh, people were actually using this, and they started accepting it, and there's more and more people, more and more marketplaces became open, it increased its value. But it really started with Silk Road. And then there was a domino effect from there, and that's when the financial institutions started paying attention.
Well, it's funny how actually that, in a similar way, that parallels with like Napster. Was what Napster was doing. You know, they provided a service or whatever, and then the creators were brought up on charges by the government and whatnot. And Metallica, obviously, that's super famous. But that led to basically that kicked the door in for peer to peer, like you said, to where it's become like commonplace. Like everybody knows about Pirate Bay or those kind of sites and stuff now. It's not like it was where when Napster first came out, everybody was like, "What the hell is Napster?"
Yes, I remember when everyone was like, what the hell is Napster? And I remember tooling around with it because at the time in the area I lived at, there wasn't a direct internet connection, not even dial-up. It took maybe a year after finally we got dial-up at the home. And so I had to go to a place, an internet cafe. You don't see those anymore.
Oh, right.
No.
An internet cafe. And I, played around with Napster and stuff like that. And I was fortunate enough to be in an area that had a T1 line.
Oh,
so that thing came quick, and the T1 line was in the cafe, so it was boom. Yeah, it was boom quick, and I was able to burn some CDs, not much because I didn't want to wreck the computer or upload the hard drive too much.
Right.
But eventually, I would have Napster on all night.
Yeah. Well,
like pretty much everybody else.
I was going to say I've known people who had like a whole computer, and that's all they did with it was hook it up to Napster or one of those kind of sites. LimeWire back in the day, whatever,
Yeah.
Oh, I hated LimeWire because LimeWire hijacked other people's computers. Like if you had a Wi-Fi, it would connect to your computer, and I'm like, I don't want you connecting. I'm doing something right now. I'm playing Half-Life. Get off.
Right? Yeah, I remember that. Like for a while, that was like the number one option for like Mac users, though. That was like
a Mac user roommate, and I hated him.
Yeah, that was like the best program. So that, but yeah, anyway, sorry, Tony, I'd cut you off there.
No, I was just to say, I also remember going to bed with a whole list of things in my queue and then waking up in the morning like a, kid on Christmas.
Right. Yeah. Like, I have all the copies of Stankonia.
Yes.
In your face.
But I personally never kept anything on the hard drive. I would just burn it onto disk and then clear everything out and just start over again. It was just a rinse and repeat. And that was what happened with Silk Road, where people would go to buy the product, use Bitcoin. The Silk Road managers would then go around, sell the Bitcoin onto the marketplace. The customer would go around, buy that same Bitcoin. It might be up a little bit more, and rinse and repeat. And that their usage caused the increased value of Bitcoin. And because Bitcoin is anonymous, while it's not technically completely anonymous in the sense that the federal government couldn't put a wiretap on somebody's Bitcoin address. So they can maybe track the information through the public ledger, which is what Bitcoin uses. But they don't know who the single individual is. So they couldn't be able to go out and round up all the drug dealers or the drug users or anything like that. And so that's what made Silk Road very dangerous. It basically eBayed the drug market. And that's why you see all these drug marketplaces now all over the world.
See, because that was like when I first heard about Bitcoin, it was probably I think it was in like 2010 when I first heard about it. And I was looking into, like maybe, getting into the whole thing. And I kept reading stuff about how, like the federal government was kind of like they had their eye on it, and they were like, well, there might be illegal activities, and and I'm like, there's too much of this talk of like potential seizures and stuff. It's like, I don't want to be involved in something that's I'm totally innocent in, but I don't want to get drug into something. And I know a few other people that were the same way, and so when it finally started taking off, I was like, yeah, it was you knew it was going to. It was just
a matter of time.
Yeah.
Well, I was of the same opinion, but it wasn't the illegality of the drug usage. My opinion was just because it created its own financial system that was better than the existing financial system. It was like there's no way any federal government, any government is going to allow someone to create their own currency.
Right.
Because that's the control of the society. It's like they're going to squash this quick. Great concept, guys. Great job.
Yeah.
Good
in a
for
utopian
you.
future.
Well, it almost reminds you of, like every time you hear of an alternate fuel source, and they're like, oh, if we do this, like, one drop of this can power like a whole country. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, whatever happened to that new? Nothing.
I hear you choked on a pork chop.
Yeah, unfortunately, he took all his research with him.
Well, it's like those people, they're all for ethanol, and I despise these people because you're burning food.
Yes. And that hits, like, Tony and I, where we live directly because
corn country.
We're in corn country, yeah.
Yes.
And, like, there's a company or a place around here, it's called the Andersons, and they control a bunch of the corn in the area. So their stock over the last few years was just going through the roof because of this, with people talking ethanol. And the whole time I'm like, this doesn't work because if we change to corn as a fuel source, then we won't have corn, which is used in everything. It's no different than oil, which is used in everything.
Plus, it's not a very efficient fuel.
Also that.
You get horrible miles per gallon when you use it.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but we don't just use corn within our country. We sell around the world. We're the primary food sellers, and that's why the Arab Spring happened. That's why Libya is a shit country now, because they were starving because they couldn't get food.
Yeah.
And it caused a civil war. People were agitated. They were angry. They were frustrated. They had a greater connection to information than ever before. So guess what? They marched the streets and they tried to take down their government, and they did. And now there's a civil war in that country.
Yep.
The Middle East went into flames, and it's primarily because of this ethanol industry. These people that were like, oh, the environment. And you got to think about the people. And even with the hydro fuel, the battery thing. I mean, the components that can make that battery are more toxic than whatever savings you have.
But there's so much lithium in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
I mean terrorism, not lithium.
But
yes.
You're missing the big picture, is that the planet can live longer than we can this way, so it's okay.
Oh, right.
I just figure my life expectancy is, probably not what normal life expectancy is. So I'm just like, hey, listen, as long as it gets me through, I'm kidding. I'm not that awful.
Slightly.
But, you also have to think of like what China is doing to its own country and how it's just pretty much made its country a toxic pit.
Oh,
to supply us wonderful first worlds with our little devices and stuff.
Well, it makes sense though, right? Like everything we seem to import, clothing we get from places that are like sweatshop based, and we get like electronics from a place that it's like we let everyone else just run their country into shit, so we can just have all the cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's the reason why people in general and around the world really don't like Americans. They love Americans, the people, but they don't like our government.
Yeah.
They're frightened of our freedoms.
Yes, they're so frightened. They're frightened by our slave-waged iPhones,
They know we're going to come liberate them at some point.
Exactly.
So,
Bald eagles and everything.
Yeah, bald eagles and basketball hoops.
Damn straight.
Forget that soccer.
I think that, Tony, that's our podcast tour name.
Bald eagles and basketball.
Yeah. Even though neither one of us has anything to do with basketball, it's just it sounds
good.
Though.
Thing, though.
Yeah, it sounds good though.
That's too funny.
Oh man. Now all I got to do is secure my bald eagle suit.
I know Bitcoin, Dogecoin; those are two separate entities. How many crypto coins are there out there? If I can English, right?
I believe there's like 400 in existence.
Good googly moogly.
Wow.
A lot of them are just straight up scam coins, but there's like 100 consistent ones that people trade and use and mine for. The top 5 that have some value is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Ripple, and Darkcoin. Those are the 5 consistent ones. And there's a couple that pop up here and there. They come like every week, kind of like, I don't know,
like
the flavor.
Thing. Buy
yeah,
in.
Yeah, basically.
We're safer than they are. Now, is there any chance that, like, because I'm assuming each one probably just like a car company or different things, it's like, well, we do this better than anybody else. Well, we do that. Is there any chance of like merger?
There's a few that are they're considering merging with another coin.
Mm-hmm.
There's others that have taken all the different features of different coins and implemented it in their coin. Darkcoin is anonymous. They built into where it's not possible for anyone to track your information on the ledger. And so that's those who are seeking anonymity, they're concerned about either the government or, their wife finding out their financial history through the chain. It's not going to happen. That's a coin that a lot of people are utilizing for that purpose, particularly those that are in the dark net and stuff like that. But a lot of them are doing that. This is like, you have to understand that 2009 is when Bitcoin became first in existence. Mm-hmm. As the idea of it was talked about in 2008. So it's not been around that long.
Right.
It seems like it. It seems like it's kind of almost everywhere because people are talking about it, and people make the comparison to that of the internet. But it's such a very different creature. It has a long ways to go for its implementation to being a massive thing, for a massive being adopted, and things can change. Someone can come up with a different concept to make things faster, easier, more user friendly, or secure, and Bitcoin can be supplanted by somebody.
Right.
Right.
Well, yeah, because you can't really compare it to the internet because basically, like, the internet was something that some people...
Al Gore created.
Well, right,
yeah.
But some people had, during dial-up, but once, like, high-speed internet came, then the whole thing just, like, exploded because now it was accessible to everybody. It wasn't a pain in the ass to use anymore. It was, you still had people on dial-up. And I know, I guess the same thing could happen to this, too, like you said. If some company came along and it made things easier and safer and all this, then... it could blow up again, but I don't know. They seem too different to compare to me.
They seem very different, and because the way everything is slowly becoming connected worldwide, there's still countries that still are on dial-up. There's some countries that still, don't quite have the internet like we do or anybody does. They're still very basic.
Right.
So it's going to take a while. I don't know where the future is. I do see it being used more often and seeing it being used in different aspects than people ever possibly thought. I honestly think that the technology that creates Bitcoin is the thing that's going to generate the new internet. Because right now, the current internet as it exists right now, it's almost kind of broken.
Way too much porn.
No, porn actually is the... Porn is always the indicator for any kind of technology.
This is very true.
Very true. Yep.
You look at the VCR, DVD.
Yep.
The computer graphics.
I was just going to say the one that I remember standing out is I remember like when it was the HD DVD versus Blu-ray, which was going to happen, and I was telling people because Tony and I at the time worked in video stores, and I'm like, there's two factors. I'm like, what porn goes with and what Disney goes with will drive the market.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, and 100% what they pick will win. And as soon as Disney said they were going Blu-ray, I was like, this is over. It's Blu-ray.
Well, Sony had Blu-ray.
Exactly. That
so
too.
I was like, I knew it was going to be Blu-ray.
Yeah. Because Sony's going to put them in all their, systems, plus Sony. They're, they have movies, and it's so.
But also, you have to. I don't know if you realize that there was that feature that DVDs had, in the early porn DVDs had, where the different camera views you can have.
Yeah.
That's now on every movie. And those type of
let me clarify. I'm not saying that because I was watching all the porns. It was because the video stores I worked at had porn, and as they come in, we have to shrink wrap the boxes. So I'm like, wow, multiple camera angles. That seems like something that's
plus watching porn.
I had male roommates, and so I was
I'm sorry.
They're actually much better than female ones. I was like, it was laying out, and I was reading the box, and I sometimes tease them, and I have no problem with it. And I was like, really, multiple camera angles? I was like, I have to watch this.
Right.
Some popcorn
for science.
Science.
Yeah.
I have to see this. I can't believe this. And I was like trying to get them to come and watch with me. It's like, watch what I can do with the remote control. Oh my God, you guys watch this? Wait, hold on. Let me zoom out. Let me zoom in. Let me go. I'm like laughing this whole time.
Like,
I was like watching like for like 20, 30 minutes just playing around with the remote control trying to.
They all have couch cushions on their laps.
Right. They were having no part of it.
Yeah.
I'm just like laughing like a hyena witch thing,
right,
in the living room.
But it makes sense. That was because like when they put them on DVD and stuff, there were. I remember reading things where some porn stars were like getting like body issues because of the clarity of things, and and I was like, wow, I was like, I never thought about how they, because there's such close-ups in their industry, and
stunning HD,
right? And now multiple camera angles, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so there's the messaging service apps, Tumblr, Instagram, Bitcoin was something that was accepted by the porn industry early on. So it's just, the technology in itself is, if it's adopted, that makes it's going to be phenomenal because it's going to protect the internet from being censored. It's going to protect the internet from the NSA or any kind of type of government from just tracking everything. Yeah. And it's just a matter of time if it's being implemented.
Right. Now, what you said about, was it Darkcoin? I think you said, about how it's completely anonymous. How are governments handling that? Because I'm sure they're not fans of that.
Right now, any cryptocurrency is taxed. So if you use Darkcoin, no matter what, you have to report it to the government if you're a U.S. citizen. Right now, there's no particular regulation right now that states that you have to report your usage of your name associated with a particular Bitcoin or Darkcoin address.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not considered like a bank account where you have to go in, show your ID and your social security number. That's just not how the system's set up. So I don't know how the government is going to address that issue because, again, it's on the internet. They couldn't stop downloads.
Right.
I don't know how they can stop something like Darkcoin other than saying you can use it, but we're taxing you.
Okay. That makes sense, yeah. Well, and in the end, I know, I guess if it's used for illegal goods and such, but they wouldn't want that. But as far as, if they're getting a piece off the top of it, that'll quiet them down somewhat, I'm sure.
No, they allow them to wet their beaks.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but there's a messaging service portion of each of these cryptocurrencies where you can message a particular address and say, like, I can imagine coming soon, courtesy of the IRS, we're saying, we looked at the public ledger and we know this address had at one point 5 Bitcoins. So you owe this in taxes.
Oh, okay.
And just keep messaging it until they pay that tax associated with it,
Right.
All right. So what you just told me is that I have to create a currency that also has no dialogue capabilities.
Yeah.
Then I win the internets, right?
Yeah, you win the internets. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, Tony, get to work.
All right.
You're the shady guy. I just come up with the ideas. I can't implement them.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I don't know anything about this. Just sitting in front of my laptop for hours.
Be like the episode of The Simpsons where Homer's trying to come up with a small business. No, it's not a small business. I can't remember. Anyways, he has a book on it that's like whatever for dummies. Then he throws that away, and then it's like, like internet-based businesses for, books for dummies. Like each book, it just gets like dumber and dumber for him so that he can finally understand it. And then he's like, and then he just throws the book like in a thing of fire, basically, because he just can't handle it. And
now, people are all bent out of shape with the whole uTorrent thing, throwing in mining software, right?
Yeah.
So because they're mining bitcoins for themselves, right?
Yes, basically they're using people's computers, their collective usage of their computer to profit for themselves.
That's shady.
That is super shady. It was discovered very quickly because you have to understand the people that do use cryptocurrencies are typically college educated, tech savvy, between the ages of 25 and 35. So they have an understanding of computers. They're going to look at something and see that their computer is slow. They're going to go through everything to figure out why. Yeah. And they're going to go, oh, really? That's what you're doing? I'm going to tell all my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's one thing the internet's definitely good for is that everyone finds out in 5 seconds everything.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's why what scams have been happening within the cryptocurrency space, they've been the different cons and scams have been shorter in the length of time. We used to be like a 1 year or 2 year. Now they're like 6 months, 3 months, weeks. Yeah. So it's adjusting itself. People are going to jail. Things are getting reported and stuff like that. But I was that's so audacious.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, this.
Yeah,
I was
right?
like, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Well,
maybe they won't notice, guys.
Well,
Good
it was funny because when I first read that, I was like, the first comment I read in the section underneath it was something like, "What are you going to do? Tell on them?" And it was like, and they're like, because then you're reporting that you're using uTorrent, and I'm like, well, yeah, but at the same time, like they're violating. I'm not doing anything wrong. They are.
Yeah.
I was just.
I'm just letting people know that it's part of this program, and if they want to download it, they can.
Yeah.
It's free society.
Yeah. If you don't mind your computer being used for other people's profit, sure. Right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, that's what, we with Facebook and MySpace and Twitter and all that is anyways. I mean, you use that.
Very
Oh,
true.
for sure.
Yeah. They sell your information, or even YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, and it's been up for 2 months now, and I think I don't have that many views or many subscribers, but somehow I have like 55 cents. That's the amount of people with views and stuff. And I imagine like people that are much bigger people that have like 1 million subscribers. I'm like, you guys are getting screwed.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep.
You're getting screwed because I will sit there and I'll watch that 30-second ad or whatever because it's tailored to what I want or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to watch this anyways. Sometimes I skip, sometimes I don't. And I'm like, you guys are really getting screwed. I understand that some of them are making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I understand why they're like podcasting and tumbling and trying to create their own shows because they're getting screwed by Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
Google will do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and
Skynet.
that's the thing is like, I've seen that before, like with, I don't know, anything. I mean, even as simple as grocery chains with their rewards cards. Any company with their rewards cards. It's like they're tracking everything you buy, and they're using that information for advertising and everything else. And, they pretend like you're getting something back, but I'm not really sure that you are. I always just feel like the place just marks things higher than they would, and then they mark it down.
Right.
So
well, they do that. I've worked in the real estate realtor business, and yeah, they do. What they do is they market depending on the product, either 1%, 3%, or even sometimes 30%, and then they do a sale. But it's still like 10% higher than the previous price, and they make a profit. I've also had weird stuff when it comes to marketing. The area I lived in was like this weird mixed economic area. And because of my demographic, I kept getting all these ads for lugs and baby stuff. Like I was some baby mama person.
Right.
And luckily my roommate at the time was pregnant and she needed these coupons. And she's like, this, kind of racist marketing campaign is finally paying off.
Right. right? I don't know why. For the longest time, I was getting baby stuff sent to me, and my girlfriend at the time, I was just giving it to her, and she was taking it into work, and like, hey, here's all these great coupons for anybody who wants them, basically. And I'm like, I don't know why they're sending me this shit, because it's like this is a big fail as far as marketing goes, because you've missed your demographic big time with me, because I have no children and I want no children, so you've missed big time on this one.
Because you're always buying onesies for yourself.
Yeah, right. Well, other than that. Hey,
naturally.
You got it, flaunt it.
This is true. That should be your calendar, various onesies.
Ooh, nice.
That'll be a great salty language calendar. A very salty year.
December in front of a fireplace with like stockings on it and stuff.
Right.
Yes. And it could be like in an elf one.
Yeah. Now we're
you can
talking.
have like a lumberjack. You can have like vegetable ones.
Oh my God. The lumberjack one would be hilarious. That's a onesie. Oh man. This needs
you
to
can
happen,
do some
Tony.
superhero ones, mix it up, sports.
Well, naturally, we have to have a basketball one so that we'll have prints to sign when we go on tour.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
So
of
I
course,
need a bald eagle one, too.
July, come on.
You have to get a trained bald eagle to be like there with you all the time, perched.
I think an untrained one would be way more fun.
No, because then you can tell it to attack. Go after the infidels, attack.
Oh,
like,
I just want Tony to have an untrained bald eagle in a room with him. I just want to see what happens. That's a YouTube video for sure. We might get 10 cents off of that.
Maybe.
Yeah, you might get 10 cents off that.
Sweet.
Did you see that one weird one where the child got scooped up by an eagle?
Oh, yeah, it was like the golden eagle picked it up by its backpack or something.
Yes, and it went away and people freaked out. They were like, is this in Canada? We need to call people. Where did this happen? That poor child. And it was like some college kid was testing it out for like his class or whatever. It was all like for a class project.
Right, yeah.
And I was laughing the whole
People were
time.
freaking out.
Yeah.
Yes, it was so well done.
Yep.
I was like, this can't be, is this real? I kept watching it and trying to figure out where the errors were, and it was well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I know, I think it's, no matter, especially if something's incredulous in a video now, I just instantly am like, it's photoshopped, or it's made up, or, it's
a little too sketchy for me.
Right, until later on you find out, and you're like, oh.
Well, that would happen to me when it was myself, my brother, who's a year younger than me, and our boss. We were working up on a job in Lake Tahoe, and this is when YouTube just kind of started out. It's like 2006, and I had seen a couple of videos or whatever, but I hadn't really been much on it. He goes, "You got to see this video." So me and my brother are watching, and it's this kid crossing the street. And he's like midway through the street, and then all of a sudden this car comes, and it does like this flip, like you see in the movies, and takes the kid out. And it goes and just the kid like basically is hit. The kid disappears, and it's because the car hit the kid,
right?
And it smashes into a wall. And I started laughing. I was like, "What is this from a movie? What movie is this from?" It was like all black and white, and it was a street cam thing. And I'm thinking, and he's like looking at me. He goes, "No," and he's like, "Watch this again." And we like watched it 3 times, and me and my brother are just laughing our heads off, like, "Oh, watch, wait, 1, 2, 3, no kid." He goes,
"Magic."
Yes. And he goes, "No, this is real. This really happens. This is from a traffic cam." I was like, "Bullshit. This is not from a traffic cam."
Yeah.
Play it again. Look at how that car spins perfectly on his back like it's in the movie. It was like it was coming up on a ramp. That's what they do. I seen the behind the movie specials. No. And it was like we looked, and it was like a real thing. I felt so terrible. It was like, why did you show me this? That is so awful. You're an awful human being for showing me a real thing.
Check it out, guys. Let's watch this kid get killed.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I didn't know that we were watching snuff films tonight. What the hell?
He goes, "No, I didn't realize this was real, and I just wanted to share because, no, you're awful. I laughed at that thing.
Wow.
You're an awful person."
I just wanted to share.
Yeah. Well, that mentality right there, welcome to Reddit.
Yeah, really.
Exactly.
Look at this awful thing, guys.
Yeah, look at this awful thing.
Yeah. Like r/this awful thing.
It probably exists.
That probably is a subreddit.
Does, yeah, probably. That's not one
Probably
I
has
think
5,000 dedicated subscribers.
Probably, yeah.
Yes.
I might be one of them. I don't think so, but man.
Well, you are an awful person.
It's true. It's true. No, like I said, I've never been so terrified on a website as I am on that site. So, like everything I click, you just never know. It's always at 50-50, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. It's more like a 33%, because it's either going to be something that's like, or it's going to be awesome, or it's going to be like horrific.
Well, it depends on what subreddit you're on, too,
True.
to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about me, so... Yeah.
Just be aware of the random button.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of my favorites,
It is.
though.
I know, me too.
It's like the Wheel of Fish from UHF.
Yeah. Right. Oh, man.
Well, I guess I know we keep harping on the cryptocurrency, and you're probably sick of talking about it. But I just got what got you into it? Because it's kind of, niche, but I know it's become more mainstream. But
Well, I heard about it in 2010, and then I left Vegas and moved back to Virginia in 2012. And my brother, who's 10 years younger than me, I have 4 brothers. He has his own server. He was playing that mod of DayZ, and he's like, you really should check Reddit. You should check on Reddit and look on Reddit. It might help you and stuff like that, because I was looking for work in Virginia. And that's how I found about Bitcoin.
I thought you just meant to just waste your life. Then, yeah.
I ended up wasting my life because that's what I was doing. Instead of sending out resumes, I was just going through all the subreddits. And that's when I saw Bitcoin again. And I read up about it and stuff like that. And I thought about mining, because you still could kind of sort of mine at the time. Mm-hmm. But I was like, these are not my computers, really. And I don't want to buy stuff. I have to really, save my money. So I just kind of looked at it, and then I ended up coming back to California at the end of 2012. Started working out here, doing different stuff, and then around Christmas time in 2013, I saw this article on Reddit about Dogecoin, and it was about the meme that's been going around the internet and how this coin was going to be, a little bit different than Bitcoin and something everybody can mine, you can start up, and I was like, oh. At that time, there's maybe like 7 cryptocurrencies in existence in 2013. Maybe more like 20. There wasn't that many. It's not like 400 right, like there is now. And I was like, okay, let me try this. And so I went onto Reddit. There was an R Dogecoin subreddit. I went on the site, and I was like, I downloaded the client, and it's not quite working. And they explained things to me, and they explained how to mine. And the people were just extremely friendly versus the people on Bitcoin were like, well, if you don't understand how to do this, then this cryptocurrency is not for you. Oh, it's this very elitist, very elitist, very off-putting subreddit and just forum, and just the people there are just very off-putting.
Well, it makes sense though as a strategy. Keep everyone away from doing Bitcoins. That way, clearly there'll be a huge demand for them.
Yes, but if you read the white paper, this is not what Satoshi Nakamoto, that everyone quotes as a great genius, wanted. He wanted it for everyone.
Exactly.
Everyone to use. So you need to be like, if you consider him to be like Jesus, he hung around the whores and the everybody people. And you need to be out in the streets, in the masses, talking to everybody. You can't be like the Pope in your little castle with your little hat and be like, well, I understand and speak to God.
That's a big hat.
Yeah, I say there's nothing little about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen some pimps with some pretty weird hats.
Right?
But it was because of the friendliness and the how-to and their willingness to guide me through. And I realized that the computers I had were too old for me to mine. The laptop I was using, I was almost breaking, so I didn't mine anymore. And it just basically got the Dogecoin from tipping, researching, making funny comments and posts and stuff like that, and just helping other people with my knowledge. And then what ended up happening was around, I would say June or July, I've been getting into podcasts in the beginning of that year, and I was looking for a Dogecoin podcast, and there had been a couple through the subreddit, but they all just, after 2 episodes, they just stopped coming. It's like, there must be somebody. So I searched on iTunes, and that's how I found Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks. They did an episode on Dogecoin. And I'm listening to the episode. It was very hilarious. It was about NASCAR, about Josh Wise, and how we sponsored the Doge car. And I started getting into podcasting, just like actually thinking maybe I can do this. There is no Dogecoin podcast right now. I like podcasts, listening to podcasts. I like talking. I like Dogecoin. I can do this. After some planning and procrastinating and chickening out, I finally, put up the show in October and just going from there. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I got into Dogecoin and podcasting, just all within a short span of 9 months, basically.
Yeah, because I know, excuse me, that, when I first went to listen to your show, because, I saw, like, Neil and Annalise had, and you had each been, like, retweeting each other's stuff and all this kind of stuff. And, Neil had told me, he's like, or not Neil, I'm sorry, Jason from 7 Days a Geek, was like, oh, you should really check her show out, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this stuff, like, I'm starting to get, I'm getting close to that crusty old white guy age, so, before long here, I'm going to be, hey, hush your face. So, but when I listened, it was amazing because I absolutely don't know anything, but I didn't feel overwhelmed listening to your show. And I love the fact that, because one of the hardest things to do is walk into a subject you know nothing about and not just feel horribly overwhelmed by knowledge,
Well, that's what I tried to do was, like, I really didn't know what I was doing when I first began, and I just thought about it and just getting a little bit of feedback, and I was like, well, the reason why I did it was I wanted other people to get into Dogecoin.
Right.
So I started doing, like, the interviews on Tuesdays, and then Wednesdays just taking a term and explaining it, whether it's just the dictionary and then showing the examples that you see it. So while it might not be the best description, but when you hear it, you have a kind of a concept of what it is instead of being like overwhelmed, like, oh, I have no idea what a dark web is. I hear all these bad things.
Right.
Or Tor. I have no idea what Tor is. Is that a metal band? Like, what?
It does sound like a Norwegian metal band. TOR
like
with an umlaut?
Band.
Yeah. They tore it up, right?
When did they tour? The 80s?
Yeah.
Like, are they from Australia? Are they those weird Norwegian death metal bands?
Black metal.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, the black metal, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Brutal.
So that's basically what I've been attempting and trying to do and be better at it. I know I need to work on my editing and stuff like that, but it's just me, and it's so hard to listen to me for 45 minutes and fix things.
I understand that.
That's why we don't edit at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a bit of a stutterer, so.
It's nice, though, because like I was saying, it's the economics classes that I've taken, a lot of times, like, you sit there and you feel like it's just like, this is so much. I did fine in those classes, but it's still the idea that it's a ton of knowledge, and I don't, it doesn't feel like that, which makes me want to listen to more because it's like, okay, I can digest this. I can keep listening and I'm not going to be like, okay, I feel like I have homework.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm listening to a lecture, basically.
Yeah. And I also put, like, in the show notes, I put, like, if anyone else wants to explore or verify my information, they can, click on it and do that for themselves. Yeah. But I try to make everything as simple as possible and as easy as possible. And there's times when I struggle on a subject, like, where I have to kind of either do it over again or put it off for a couple weeks because I want to make sure that I can convey it to another person in as easy a manner as possible.
Right. Was it I can't remember the quote, but it's like, like, if you can't explain it to a 3-year-old, you're not knowledgeable enough, or you're not explaining it right, or I know
it's a
I'm
misattributed quote to Einstein, where if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, then you have no knowledge of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so, and there's a lot of truth to that. It's not even in the like keep it simple, stupid mentality. It's just I don't know. It's one of those things, like just because you have $1 million vocabulary doesn't mean you need to flash it all the time.
Yeah.
Says you. And my word-a-day calendar.
Yeah, I don't know. My father made me listen to those Princeton vocabulary tapes on end, so
nice.
He would disagree with you.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And those SAT crunches. Ugh.
Right. I used to do those for fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, good for you, man.
No,
good for you.
because I didn't say I did well on them. I just said I did them. No.
You participated.
Yeah, it's like I do.
You got the ribbon and everything.
Yeah, I do the New York Times crossword every day too. I mean, I just fill in whatever word I want, but
I usually draw stick figures in some sort of ninja battle sort of thing.
Right. I just black out all the boxes.
Redacted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is, a lot of those, like, if you ask me the question, I know the answer, but I don't have no idea how to spell the word. I have to look up the word myself, and it just makes it no fun. You're constantly looking through the dictionary.
Yeah.
Trying to make it fit in the box.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, it's not the right word. Everything's wrong.
Shit, and I use pen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I use.
Then again, I play Sudoku, so.
Yeah. I did for a while. I haven't much lately, but I was doing that for a while. I used to have fun explaining to people, like, why you would do that.
It's good for your mental acuity.
That's what I keep telling them. I'm like, I already have the memory of, like, a 90-year-old, so I'm trying to keep what else I have. So.
Memory of a 90-year-old. So you remember what it's like when the world was black and white?
Yeah, yeah.
You betcha.
As long
Prohibition.
Yeah. Oh,
Horse-drawn buggies.
obviously.
Yeah.
Speakeasies.
The milkman used to come and drop off milk in glass bottles on our front porch. and carrying big blocks of ice. All that.
Times are simpler.
Yeah, simpler times.
Yeah. Sure, you might die from a raccoon bite, but oh man.
Well, I guess what else are you into? Like comics, video games? What do you got? What do you like?
Oh, I used to have a collection about 3,000 comics, and yeah, it was when I had to move, and a couple of different times because the economy crashed, and I'm like counting up all my comics and movies, and I was like, oh, that's where my money went.
Yep.
Yeah.
Weird how that works.
Yeah, I was very big into single issues. I wasn't too much into graphic novels. I only had a few. And I didn't collect to be like a collector. I collected them because I wanted the whole run of something, you know. A lot of Batman, Birds of Prey. I did have like a lot of early indie stuff. Like I had maybe the first 10 Walking Deads and Why the Last Man and Fables, which are all now worth something.
Yep.
If I still had them.
Yep.
Queen and Country was a big Greg Rucka fan.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Gail Sloan.
Yep.
So, and I love Greg Rucka, but I think that a lot of people now think that if they launch on Free Comic Book Day, they're going to be a mega writer or mega performer.
Yeah.
So you see all sorts of weird and interesting.
You know, it's funny.
Comics.
Because Tony and I actually owned a comic shop for a couple years, and you know, so we did a couple free comic book days, and it was interesting what was available then versus what's available now. Like there were almost like no, I don't want to say no indie titles, but the indie titles that were available were still kind of, I don't know, they were still catered almost to the superhero crowd still at the time.
Yeah.
Whereas the market has shifted a lot away from superhero books into, you know, pretty much anything else. But
the only reason why I picked up Queen and Country was because it was the only non-superhero thing that was out that day. Everything else was either a kid thing or a superhero thing. I was like, I'd rather get the actual comic book than some promotional material. Yeah.
Right. And it makes sense. You know, I mean, you know, a lot of the companies, they want to put out, you know, a fun Spider-Man story so kids can come in and get a Spider-Man book. That's great and all. But we had, you know, people who were, you know, our age at the time or whatever, and this has been, 12 years ago we had our shop? 10 years?
Wow.
10 years ago. 11, something like that.
Something like that.
So, you know, people our age, and we're like, coming in going, and you'd see them, like, pick up, like, a book, and I'm like, you can take, you know, one of every one if you want.
Mister, they're free.
Yeah, and they were like, I don't really see anything else I want, and I'm like, wow, it's such a cool idea, but you missed. You know, now I see more books that come out regularly and, you know, stuff. And I like that the selection's a lot better now. Although it's got to be brutal as a comic shop owner to have to buy all of those.
Yeah.
Even though they're not that expensive, it's still, you know.
Oh, I imagine there's more now thanks to the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a couple more, like, indie labels that are a little bit bigger, like Ami and Image are bigger players now.
Well,
so.
even Boom's been around 10 years, but Boom is putting out a lot of books now. So it's, you're right. There's a lot of those companies that, you know, because when we were open, it was mostly still, you know, DC, Image, and Marvel were the, you know, the market share. And then
there was
a few
Dark
others.
Horse, and like IDW, I guess.
Yeah, they put out some, but they didn't have huge, I mean, they don't really still even now, but, they have more properties and stuff than they did at the time. So, yeah. But
and then Magna was like, manga was kicking your guys' butts in the early aughts, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we didn't get into any of that. We had an opportunity to. There was actually a shop in our city that the guy got a bunch of the, like, statues and stuff and the, import stuff, and he had all the connections for that. And he was the only place in town doing it, and he came in one day and talked to me about it. And he wanted so much money for his stock, and basically he was going to give me all his contacts and his stock, but he just wanted too much money. So he overvalued his
connections.
Stuff. Yeah,
His hookup.
yeah. So, like, if it was now, it wouldn't be a big deal because I'd be like, dude, I can just get on the internet and get your hookups.
Well,
At the time,
one of
it was
my
still
favorite
dial-up.
comic book shops, that's what he did was at first he didn't want manga, but so many people kept asking it, and he started putting it in, and it just started drawing a crowd.
Yeah.
Like there was more women coming in, more younger people, more different people, and more consistent. And he would get like all the books, like 1 through 60, and they would consistently sell out. Because you can just go and pick up, and get it's not like a comic book where you have to know all this back history.
Right, because at the time, the best place to get those kind of books was Barnes & Noble, probably.
Yeah.
And Borders and stuff like that, So,
and now those places are gone.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure manga's really doing well digital because the few people I know that do read it on digital, it's it's always buggy. There's viruses and not very consistent. It's not like webcoms and stuff like that on Tumblr where you can watch it like a webcom or read webcoms and be consistent.
Yeah.
It's still kind of hard. You still have to get the import books.
Yeah. Which is, exactly. Which is tough because they don't, it's like kind of like if you're a person like me, I read all my stuff digitally now. And like the smaller press, like Black Mass Studios and stuff, they put out some books that I like, but they don't do digital editions of every book. And that's kind of frustrating. And I talked with the guy who, one of the guys who runs it, and they're it's only like 2 or 3 guys like that are running it. And I told him, I was like, man, you guys somehow, you got to figure out a way to do digital on everything because it's really how it's,
how it's going to be going.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, the digital art has gotten so much better. I mean, Adobe Photoshop and all those type of programs is so clear, is so concise, and all of that. You can have so much more detail than before, and it'd be clear. It's not blurred or just not.
The only thing I'll say against it is that I've noticed there's a lot more artists coming out lately that are getting books, and they're doing basically what I would consider a rough. Like a quick paint or a rough sketch concept for their work, and that's their style. And a lot of people are receiving that as like lazy or that they're not finishing their work. And I think that's something that a lot of artists need to kind of tighten up a little bit. But that you wouldn't have gotten away with if by hand drawing it. Like if you turn that in, Marvel or whatever would probably be like, But with the digital stuff, it seems to be more accepted. I don't know why that is. So.
I think it's because people don't realize what it takes to do it. People still think it's hard to do digital art, and it is at some point.
Yeah.
But it's gotten so much better where you can actually draw.
Yeah.
Like on a pad, and it will transfer onto the screen. It's not you with a mouse. Yeah. So I think that's I think that's why people are a little bit more accepting. It's like, oh, you did that with a mouse, but no, you can actually do that with a pointer, and there's customized pointers, and you can be very precise.
Oh yeah, and you can create your own brushes within the things and stuff, so you can really have full control of the medium you're using. Yeah, it's mind blowing how big of a jumps have been made since I was in went to school for graphic design in I don't know, it's been 15-ish years ago. And how far it's come from there till now, it's insane. Because everything I did art-wise then was with a mouse. We didn't have tablets to do it with then. And like you said, now we've got, they've got those big tablets that are basically like a computer monitor, and you're drawing right on them. You don't even have to.
You should have started all this with back in my day.
Sorry.
Back in my day.
Yes.
Sorry. Back in my day.
And then have the little woo time travel noise.
Yeah.
We used to run down the street with a stick and a hoop.
Yeah. When graphic design was done by hand lettering things.
Yes.
With stencils.
Oh, God. Photocopiers and stencils pretty much were all the time.
You betcha.
Now you don't
the Dark Ages.
Yeah. So I said,
well,
go ahead.
Not only that, but as a graphic designer with the programs now, you don't really have to understand shapes too much. Like you had to, like with the old programs, you had to understand the dimensions of the sphere and the square to build everything together. And now, because you can go back to kind of like just drawing by hand, you can make everything what you want. Before it wasn't that possible.
Yeah, it's taken, the computer is such an amazing tool for art, and these tablets and stuff made it even more of an amazing tool for art. And, because now, I mean, man, it's amazing. You can just buy a tablet and a program, and you can sit there and do stuff that looks like oil paints, and then switch over to another medium and to another, and you can just switch all you want. You don't have to own all of those things. I have cabinets of art supplies,
Well, I think it was like a few months ago that Redman became available for free.
What was that? Sorry?
Redman, that program, that animator program.
Oh, yeah.
Redman,
Yep.
it became for free that they use for like Pixar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that program is free for anyone to download.
Yeah.
And even the Adobe Photoshop, I guess it's like, $20 a month to have access to the whole program, and it's all cloud storage.
Oh, that was a brilliant idea by Adobe to switch to the subscription service. I had it for a while because I was in school, and while I was in school, we got it for free. So, yeah, it was fantastic because they were they could update things and add new things whenever they wanted to. You didn't have to wait for next year's program to come out or whatever. So
Strong.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
You don't have to download updates to the programs, basically, because you just get them from Adobe. So, yeah, it was quite nice.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm going to do, like, somewhere around July for my birthday is just get Adobe Photoshop and Premiere, and I already have Audition, and just have those 3 programs on subscription.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what I need.
Yeah.
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 And everything's saved and stored on the cloud, so I don't have to worry about anything getting lost or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, it's why I said when they made that step, I was like, that's so brilliant. That's so great for schools and stuff, because that'll save them a lot of money on software, Because like I said, when I was in school for graphic design, I had to buy those programs to use them. And when I first went to school for illustration, I had to buy the newer versions of the programs. And then this last time I was in school, it was, given to us as part of our tuition, basically. So it changed to where it's like now I don't have to buy $600 worth of programs. I now get this for free as long as I'm enrolled in school.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's just changing the way education is going as well, because if everything is the cloud and you can import everything that you need, you don't necessarily need to buy books.
Yeah.
You can get lectures. You can have a guest lecture, come in Skype and show you how to use something. I mean, the kids got it easy now.
Oh, yeah. Like this,
boy, do they.
Oh, yeah. The school I was enrolled
God.
in, one of the books that one of the instructors wanted us to use was no longer in print, but the school has a digital library that you could get the book through. And again, while you're in the class, you have access to the book. You can't download it or anything like that, but, it didn't matter. You could pull it up on your computer, your phone, or whatever, and read what you needed to read. So otherwise, to buy that book would be like a $500 book.
Yeah, well, that's how the education, because they have the knowledge and the information and the copyright or whatever, so they're not going to hand that over for free quite yet.
Right.
That's the last place that's not been disrupted yet by anybody, but it soon will be.
Oh, yeah. It's a matter of time. You're right.
Well, that's what happened with that kid that was part of Reddit, Alex Onen. That's what he did, was he went to MIT and just downloaded all that information.
Right.
And then he put it up on the internet for anyone to see and use.
Yeah.
And they wanted to put him away in prison for that.
Yeah. That's what
it was just ridiculous.
I was talking with somebody actually on a site called DeviantArt. That's it's an art website, and it was somebody who's 17. They're about to graduate, or they'll graduate this year, and they were like, should I go to art school? And I'm like, it's tough to tell somebody yes when you're going to saddle yourself with $100,000 worth of debt to go to art school now, and you're not going to make any money coming out of it.
Not only that, but now you can go online and get so many programs. You can. It's just right now. It's just basically. I was listening to, was it Bryan Bendis was on the Nerdist?
Yeah.
And basically, he was telling how he got into the comic books. Was you have to make your own comic book?
Yeah.
And that's what people are doing now. They're going on Tumblr, they're going on Instagram, they're going on DeviantArt, and they're just making their own comic book. And the best thing you could do now is tell someone just to make your own thing.
Yeah.
Find a job that that pays your bills. That's not what you're making a living. That's not what you live for.
Right.
You live for your art.
Exactly.
It's just,
Yep.
I was explaining it, I think it was to the Angry Ginger, because he was talking about what he wanted to do for podcasting. And I was like, you know, do what rap artists do. They were drug dealers. They slinged on the street, but that's not who they were.
Right.
They were rappers.
Right.
They were rappers. They
Right.
were rapping all the time. They living the rap style life, and the drug business just paid the bills.
Yep. You're right,
So-
though. There's so many times that you see that. Like, somebody's like, well, I don't want to do this job because it blah, blah. I'm like, look, will this job finance what you want to do? If so, suck it up and
bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet, and then when you can launch your dream or whatever, or like you said, there's tons of artists that are working other jobs, whether it's in the art field or not, just so that they can have the money to maybe do a small print run of their book to take to conventions or whatever. This is how it's always been done. But now you have more tools. It's easier to get your stuff to everybody because you can.
It's easier. It's much easier to get your stuff out.
Yep.
It's much easier for people to see it, and it's also much easier for you to make it.
Right.
To where it's not such an economic burden for you to what people would consider a hobby, but it's actually something you can actually do.
Right.
Even if you're not very successful, it's not so much of putting you in the hole where you can't make a living.
Exactly.
Where that hobby can be something you to provide pleasure from, that you are creating things for and you feel fulfillment for, but maybe you're not making your mortgage payment from, but people get fulfillment from it, and they have some kind of, I don't know, acceptance in life about where they are.
But you're right. That's that's what I told the person. There was actually I'm trying to think of his name, LaShawn Thomas. It's he used to be like in comics and stuff. Now he's moved more into like TV animation. He was the art director, I believe, for a couple of the seasons on the Boondocks, and he's done like a few other like animated shows. And he posted a fantastic thing on DeviantArt that was about, like, he was like, instead of going to art school, take this much money and do this. And he listed like all these resources for like how to learn all the stuff you need to learn. And it came out to like, I want to say it was like $10,000 or $15,000. But like he even said, he's like, you can pick and choose when and where you take these things. So you can do it as you can afford it. And I was like, that's so much better not knowledge, but that's so much better advice. The only thing is there are some people who need that foot in the ass that school provides.
Well, yeah. The structure.
Well, there's also some people that need someone to show. Like, I'm a person, if you show it to me, I understand it.
Right.
Like, I can watch a video, but if it's not enough detail for me to see the hands or see how it's actually done, like when I was trying to get back into learning how to play the guitar, I really need to see your fingers connect to the strings. Like, I really need to see that,
That's where those alternate angles come in.
Yes, those alternate angles that nobody uses.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, though, there's tons of videos for artists out there now doing that, though. Like showing techniques and different stuff. It's so amazing to me what is out there that people have put out there for free or for a nominal fee. There's a bunch of websites where you can get drawing classes, and they're like $50 for the class.
Yeah.
From industry standard type artists,
There's like this one Magna one that I always say it wrong, Magna one that I was watching all the time, and he's just showing how you do different eyes in different ways and stuff like that, and it's very detailed. He does it quick, and does a breakdown, and it's just, some of it's time lapse, some of it's not. It's just him going through it, and it was just amazing. It's like, wow, that's so much better than the book that I picked up.
Yep, exactly.
I wanted to learn how to draw little Chibas, and I just watched the video and got what I needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. There's so much out there. So, but anyways, we've been ranting for over an hour here, so I should probably wrap it up.
It's been an hour already?
Yeah, we're at an hour and 13, actually. So.
Damn.
Yep.
Well, I would say plug all your stuff there, Alicia.
Yeah.
Well, you can find me, Musings of a Shibe podcast, on any of the podcast outlets, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. I'm always on the Twitter as Musings of a Shibe, all one word. And you can always email me, or mostly I'm on the Twitter and tweet at me, and I can answer pretty much any of your questions. But, catch me on the YouTube, and that's pretty much it.
All right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
I have no wares to sell, nothing to hawk. Not yet, anyways.
Not yet, yeah.
Well, you got to go to that get them to that YouTube page so you get another nickel or something out of it.
Get that
I hope
sweet,
so.
sweet
Well, I
YouTube
don't
money.
have the URL yet, but if you just type in Musings of a Shy podcast, it should come up.
Okay.
I have a pretty good Google presence.
Right?
Makes sense, right? Yeah, and I'll throw, various links of yours in the show notes for anyone who's interested, or like you said, find you on the Twitters or whatever. So, because you are pretty active on various social media, so there's no reason to not be able to find you.
This is what I tell my parents all the time. It's like, you can always reach me.
Like, here, tweet at my
I
manager.
am available, Mom.
I am available. What are you
Right.
talking about? She's
Yeah.
like, I called you. I was like,
Well, who calls?
I was busy tweeting.
I was busy tweeting.
Yeah, it's like
You
call.
couldn't left me a message on Facebook,
Right. It's like, seriously.
on my Tumblr, on my Twitter.
What is this, 1985? Who calls people? Come on.
Exactly. You could have text messaged me something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dick. Phone calls.
Yeah, that's what
Phone
I'm
calls,
saying.
exactly. Who
Ugh.
does that? Yeah,
Old crusty white guys.
Yeah.
pretty much. Old crusty white
Old
guys.
crusty white guys. Yeah. So, us?
Yeah, sometimes.
No, not really.
Not usually.
No.
No.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. That was informative and fun. So,
Yeah.
Well, glad to be of entertainment to you guys.
It doesn't take a lot, actually. It's, just jingle some keys and we're good.
It's true. Throw something shiny on the ground.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
Like a Bitcoin.
yeah. I don't think
Oh, I wish I had a full Bitcoin. Be holding it like my precious.
There has to be a Photoshop of that.
yeah, right.
Golem
there
for
is.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find one. Like a
Oh,
gold.
absolutely.
I'm just picturing Tony, like your head on Gollum's body, holding the Bitcoin now.
Well, naturally.
That'd be great cover art for this episode.
Bald eagle basketball hoops with a golem and a Bitcoin.
Right.
Yep.
I think that
My
sums up
big
the
doe
show
eyes.
pretty well. Yeah.
Shit.
Yep.
I don't think we really need to plug ourselves, Brian.
No.
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 We'll do that in the post wrap up.
Yeah, we will. So.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks again, Alicia.
You guys are welcome.
All right. Well, thanks to Alicia for, dropping some knowledge bombs. Too bad we didn't have the knowledge gong ready to go there. But
No, I didn't. I never think we're going to need sound effects for the enthusiasts, but I really should just hook it up
you
just
really
in case.
should. Yeah. Because it might just frighten a guest sometime, but that's okay.
Oh, panic.
And they just drop out of the call.
Bloop, bloop. Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We learned a little about, again, a topic I know still very, very little on.
Yeah, I usually think we could have her back to talk comics because, I'm sure, I'm sure she's sick of talking crypto coin
Yeah.
to everybody. But,
That's all right. You gotta, you introduce them and then
yeah.
then we bring
it's
them
true.
back and then, yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess that'll wrap this up. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. And if you didn't, let us know by hitting us up on the Twitter at salty_language. Or you can hit me up at Stunami.
You hit me up. What are we saying? Hit me up.
I don't know.
I'm at monotony. God damn it.
Or you can hit up saltylanguage.com for all
True.
the other links and whatnot. Like I said, we'll have Alicia's links in the show notes and such. Or if you just, check out our stream on or our timeline on the Twitter, she's usually in there, or the various other shows in our networks. So, because she's very active on the Twitters.
On the Twitter machines.
Yep. So I guess for now, I guess all we can say here is take it away, Annalise.
Enthusiast this.
Hey listeners, this is Jedi from over at Geek Dig, the second sexiest podcast on the network, and proud Salty Language Patreon. These guys do a hell of a job, don't they? Well, go help them out. Not right now, you gotta finish listening to this episode, but as soon as you're done listening, here's what you do. go to saltylanguage.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page, then click the link that says, I want to be a supporter. From there, it's up to you. So, go back to listening. Remember, when it comes time to take over the world, make sure you're on the geek side.